Welcome to the Cincy Postcast. I'm your host, Kevin Wallace, and before we get into today's episode, I want to tell you about our sponsor, Streetside Brewery, a fantastic local Cincinnati brewery putting out some amazing beers over on the east side of Cincinnati. These beers are so good that only if you are a listener of the Postcast, and you are, if you are hearing this, you can go down to the brewery. Tell them you listen to the Postcast and they will knock $1 off of your beers. An amazing deal for your chance to try, again, some of the best beers in Cincinnati. Try a beer out when you are at one of the events that they've got going on. Coming up this weekend, August 3rd, you got live music going from 3 until 10 p.m. You got Kyla Manus and Kyle English going on Saturday. On Sunday, you got Daniel Berman featuring Roman Marion. That is from 3 to 6 on Sunday. Mondays, they got Fire Up Pizza starting up. It is an awesome time. Again, huge thank you to Streetside Brewery. Let them know we sent you there. They'll knock $1 off of your beers. And again, a huge thank you to Streetside for sponsoring this and many other episodes of the Postcast. And on today's episode, well, you know what this episode is. This is our Leagues Cup podcast. This is a big one. This is a dense one. Not that dense. It's a fun one. We go through the tournament that, sure, is in progress. Whatever. This was the earliest time we could get to talk about it. But we go through each of the groups. We predict the groups. It is very helpful to already have one of the games down in the groups to do this. We also start off the conversation by looking at big picture Leagues Cup, where it stands in the calendar, how much it means, and where we think FC Cincinnati will end up in this group. In part 2, it is FC Cincinnati focused, and maybe more specifically, Aaron Boupendza focused. What is the team going on, or what is the team doing with this position, with Aaron Boupendza, with the ongoing designated player spot that may or may not be open by him leaving? How will he leave? So many questions, hopefully some answers. Put it all together, you got yourselves one very, very fun episode of the Postcast. And joining me to talk about all of that and more, we finally got the band back together for the first time since New York, joined by Grayson, joined by the Chief. Grayson, how we doing, man? How we feeling? How does Leagues Cup find you?
Leagues Cup finds me great because I've been watching the Olympics. We had some mixed results from the men in the soccer. Yeah. Some great results from the women so far. Enjoying watching some of the other sports. I, as any good American watching sports that we don't pay attention to year in, year out, I have some notes and some thoughts.
Good.
About how to make some of them better. I still believe that if we just took a group of like college point guards and like dual threat college quarterbacks, we could have the best handball team in the world in like 6 months.
Yes.
Like Aaron, you can't tell me any French guy is better at handball than like Zach Calaros would be.
No, God, no. This is a sport purpose built for the McCown brothers to have dominated. Like Luke and Josh McCown would have been the greatest handball players of all time.
Think about like Aaron Kraft playing handball. Come on.
Any quarterback that was ever deemed skilled enough to play in the NFL but too small is exactly your
or like
target.
The guy you're looking for is when like they have their rivals recruiting page, they're just listed as athlete. Every single one of those people would own at handball.
Do you remember Brad Banks?
Yeah, Mizzou. Yeah, no, he would slay. Yeah. Or the dude that was the quarterback at South Florida, like B.J. Daniels. That man would be an elite handball player.
Yeah.
Like that's before you even get into guys like Lamar that are like legit, like $200 million NFL quarterbacks. I'm just talking to dudes that are like wrecking the MAC would own
I would
handball.
not ask like so there was like that story where like Jim Brown, like many people think he was like the greatest lacrosse player of all time.
Right.
Right. But he was never going to like be a professional lacrosse player because he was going to go be like the best running back of all time.
Right.
You know, I do firmly believe that that's why like lacrosse is a fake sport, because everybody who would be like really good at lacrosse is playing football. Like everybody I know who was like really into lacrosse is somebody who wasn't a good enough athlete to like be really good on the football team.
Right.
But that's a different story.
Or they can't skate. If they could skate, they'd be hockey players.
Exactly.
Yeah, but we don't like nobody who grew up near me played hockey.
Right. In certain parts of the US though, hockey is the number one there.
But like I would never ask Lamar or Pat Mahomes to like do handball.
But there's a lot
Murray. There's a lot of guys who are like selling cars or like doing like mortgage loans or whatever.
Johnny Manziel, the redemption tour.
He would be an incredible handball player.
Johnny Manziel would be an incredible handball player. I watched a little bit of a little bit of the pistol. Boring.
Yeah.
Boring. It sucks. They have like this whole rig on their arm and they just stand there and shoot. Like, why is it not quick draw? Quick draw
or moving targets.
Dueling.
Just kill each other.
You don't have to use like bullets.
But what if you did?
You can use like paintball,
rubber bullets, even, you know, if you want to.
Like they've made fencing safe. You can make duelings. Like dueling would be way more fun.
Airsoft, you know, you can use little metal BBs and things like that.
Yeah.
Hear me out on the Patrick Mahomes for handball, because there's no other chance Patrick Mahomes would ever have to win a gold medal. I'll bet you could convince a couple of these people that, like, you know,
they're doing flag football now.
Yeah,
dominate handball. It seems way safer.
By the way, that's one of the biggest like lies that like people try to tell you, where there's like guys online who are like, no, you don't understand. The rules of flag football are so different from regular football that like
Tyreek Hill is still fast.
These guys that do flag, they would dominate like NFL football. Like, dude, it's fine. It's fine. You could just be a good flag football player. Just enjoy what you do. Don't worry about the fact that, like, if Jamar Chase was there, you wouldn't be there.
You wouldn't be able
to don't worry about it.
You wouldn't be able to touch him. Like, he would be too fast for you.
Is flag football more different than the NFL than the CFL is different from the NFL? Because that already doesn't really translate that well.
Do you think Jamar Chase would not be a good CFL player?
Right. Well, that's the flag
football me if Jamar
argument.
Chase could do a running start ahead of the play, that he would not catch like 300 passes a game.
The other thing too is that I have bad news for the flag football players. They would get wrecked by every player in the CFL as well. It's not just the NFL that would absolutely dominate your average flag football player.
I'd even say anybody collecting a check in Japan or Germany. Like,
if you have an NIL deal in college, you're better than any flag football player out there.
They need to put netball in the Olympics, so that people can also say, like, it's so different from basketball.
Without
like,
a backboard.
Caitlin Clark would not be good at netball.
Without a backboard, these guys are useless.
Angel Reese would not be good at netball.
Meanwhile, like, Victor Wembanyama just like swats away anything that you're trying to put in your stupid net.
This 5'8" Australian girl is better than any of them at netball, because that's what she's been playing for 10 years.
We do have too many Olympic sports, though. Like, I was thinking about that today as I was watching horses run around Versailles. Like, there's too much going on at the Olympics.
Speaking of horses, they should do horse shooting.
Whoa.
What, have the horse shoot the horse? No, they have to break a leg for that to happen.
Like, you ride the horse and you shoot.
Oh, okay. Or
they could also do like Comanche style, like archery.
Archery
that would also be fun in the Olympics. So you ride the horse and you shoot the bow and arrow.
And you'd have different bow styles, right? You can do like short bow and long bow from horse. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Which, speaking of styles, I know, like I said, I got comments and everything. I don't understand why they do different strokes for swimming. Just swim the fastest way you can.
So, like,
just whoever swims the fastest. Like, what if it's like Well, yeah, but who swims the fastest, like only using one arm?
There actually is.
What if you like run like hopping?
So
what if you just what if you just skipped?
Well,
like, what if you did like a skip 100-yard dash? That's like the different strokes for swimming.
There's a study that shows that, well, first off, the fastest animals on planet Earth run on 4 legs. And what gives you speed is propelling yourself off the ground. And the more often you're propelling yourself off the ground, the faster you are. So you want to maximize your amount of contact with the ground to move fast. And 2 legs is actually super inefficient compared to 4 legs. And there are people out there that are trying really hard to get good at 4-legged, 4-limbed running. And given the progress that they are making in this field,
them do track.
By 2040, a 4-limbed sprinter ought to be faster than a 2-limbed sprinter.
Let them do it. Let them do it.
I've seen 28 days later. This is terrifying when you see people doing this.
I'm 100% serious. If somebody wants to go out and do like the 100-yard dash, like crawling,
I don't think there's a rule against it.
Let them do it. Dogs can't. There's no rule that says dogs can't do track and field.
There might be a rule against that one, actually.
The problem with your idea, Grayson, on the swimming, like do whatever is the fastest, is this is the exact same thing that happened with mixed martial arts fighting. But if you go back and watch UFC #1, like it's really is mixed martial arts. You got a guy who's a Greco-Roman wrestler going up against a dude in a karate gi. And like, it was wild for the first, 6 months that they were doing this. And then eventually everyone decided, oh, the answer is Brazilian jiu-jitsu. You just train that.
It's Brazilian jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai for the 30 seconds you spend standing upright to start.
That's fine with me. Like, who's the best at fighting? Like, I don't want to see who's the best at tickle fighting or whatever. Like,
I'd watch.
Just who's the best at fighting? Like, who's the best at it?
For this round, we're going to do pillow fighting.
Why not do pillow fighting then? If we're going to do all types of like inferior fighting styles.
I mean, isn't that what flag football is? It is the fencing version of the NFL.
You say this, but like if there was pillow fighting where the goal was to incapacitate your opponent with a pillow, that would be incredible content. Like ultra violent pillow fighting.
They should do...
The concussions would be off the charts in pillow fighting.
They should figure out some way to make it safe to do like knife fighting.
That was...
I don't even know how you would do that. I
forget who had the idea, but that was like, you keep the tush push legal in the NFL, but if you're going to run that play one defensive lineman gets to carry a knife. They don't have to tell you which.
Like I guess like I when you just like put a bunch of rules in and make it just based on like a technique of something very arbitrary, I don't find that super exciting because I'm not going to learn like the little technique about every little thing.
Right.
But like if you make something like just be like, this guy's the fastest swimming and everyone just do your best. If some guy is like super fast at backstroke, you can just do that.
I maintain that the sport they need to add to the Olympics is professional wrestling.
No.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a
but then it's scored by a judge, right?
Yeah, but like there's tons of judge sports in the Olympics that suck.
Yeah. Oh, so no.
The 2 people from the country, they put on a match together. They get points for degrees of difficulty, types of spots used, like the foreign object introduction.
Yeah, they do trampoline.
Yeah, so like this would be way more entertaining than that.
Fighting, although that would be cool.
That would be cool too. But no, like you can't tell me that like it would be less entertaining watching like, Kenny Omega like fight in the Olympics for Team Canada versus like, some stupid apparatus in gymnastics. I'd rather watch that than somebody on a balance beam. That's just dumb.
You know how you'd have to do it? You'd have to do it in like a synchronized swimming kind of way where it's like the wrestlers are from the same country.
Yeah, and they put the match on
it's
together.
Like who puts on? Yeah, they put the match on together, and it's like who puts on the most entertaining match.
Yeah,
be electric.
With some scores, exactly as Chief said. Yeah, difficulty and showmanship should absolutely count. You go into it like with the judge, like, all right, for this performance, I'll be the heel, he'll be the face. Like you lay out the ground rules first, and then you jump into
like,
it.
Your routine difficulty. Oh, he's going to be trying 4 top rope moves, and his finisher is going to be kicked out of 3 times. Like they have 10 minutes to get all their work in. It'd be great.
Right. So if you do this, here's the question, though. Do you need a third to be the referee? Or is they sort of like an impartial referee who's just so good at improv and kind of roll with whatever is happening?
I think you would have a referee that is actually attempting to enforce the rules of the match.
That would be really good.
And if you can cheat, oh my God, it's points off the chart. Plus, they're from the IOC. They're corrupt anyway. You can have a routine where you pay the ref off at the start. It'd be great.
That's true. I like it. But no, Chief, I would say to go along with your most recent take, but to disagree with your last take, I don't think there are enough events in the Olympics, and the threshold for getting an event in the Olympics should be almost nothing. I think there should be a ton more of events because what the hell else are we going to do? Is anybody really going to say that the sanctity of the Olympics is threatened by softball versus baseball versus, whatever it is, poker? Why not? Let's have this.
I think at bare minimum, you have to be moving for your Olympic event. So poker, we're not going to do that. There has to be some.
But you don't move when you're shooting. And most people would say that's
what I'm saying. They should do like Western shooting.
Right.
They should do like duels. They should do like the tactical like drills and stuff where you gotta like move through like a building and like hit targets and things.
Yeah, you get points.
That's
for,
what the shooting. That's what the shooting.
Yeah.
That's what the shooting should be.
See, I'd be adding all sorts of video games and card games like
Olympic video,
chess.
No video games. That's nonsense. If you're gonna do chess. Are you familiar with chess boxing?
I'm sure. Why not? Bring it on. Yes.
You play chess and box at the same time.
That's what they should do.
Yeah, I'm into that.
They can call it summer biathlon.
It is unfortunate for the Leagues Cup. Not to bring it back to the Leagues Cup. It is unfortunate for the Leagues Cup that in its second year, it is immediately upstaged by the Olympics.
I mean, but this goes back to our original point, is that this is a terrible time to host the Leagues Cup.
Yes.
So this year, it's being upstaged by the Olympics. It'll have another year to itself next year. And the year after, it's going to be upstaged by the World Cup. I have a hard time believing they're going to pause MLS for the World Cup and then come back and pause MLS again to run Leagues Cup. So you're going to have a scheduling problem with it next year as well. This is an objectively bad idea to pause the MLS schedule to host Leagues Cup right now. I like Leagues Cup as a concept. It's just it's always going to be something that's taking eyeballs and interest away from this tournament.
I think that if they had done it during Copa America,
yes,
it would have gotten more eyeballs because there would have been a lot of people who are like already watching like a Copa America match at night. And there'd be like Leagues Cup matches like around it.
Yeah.
So it's like you're already watching soccer that night. Oh, there's like a game that starts a little earlier, or there's a game that goes on after.
You could have made it work. You could have absolutely made.
But here it's like I'm watching the Olympics from like early morning to like mid-afternoon. Now I'm going to go watch soccer for 5 hours? No.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way, especially when soccer, at least these early, days of the Olympics are such a key part of the Olympics right now that like there's a rooting interest for the US on the men's and women's side.
You've got the A team for the women competing in the Olympics. That's going to be primary function for anyone that's a casual soccer fan. Unless your particular team is playing in Leagues Cup, the focus is going to be on these matches at the Olympics, I think.
Yeah. It's I think why not? Let's get into this now because we are talking Leagues Cup, we are talking big picture. If it were up to me, I think Leagues Cup would be played in January. That with a January timeframe, you're after MLS Cup. Liga MX takes a winter break. MLS kind of sort of takes they absolutely do take a winter break, but January falls right in that sweet spot where you're before Champions League, everything else. Again, I would host it in host cities, but I'm open to other ideas there. but and we've heard this before, that players don't like how long the offseason is in MLS because it is considerably longer than it is in other leagues around the world. Not that you find a lot of players complaining about not playing, but
if you don't run deep into the playoffs, if you run deep into the playoffs, as we found this year, the offseason is non-existent. But if you don't make the playoffs in MLS, the layoff is insane.
Yeah. But you could start, the League's Cup could start Boxing Day, right? Like you could make it a post-Christmas thing. It's kind of a dead spot for the American sports calendar as it is. Like regular season NBA games start to
start late. You can start at late January.
Yeah, because like what you're talking about, that's college football playoffs now. That's like the NFL playoffs, and the NFL season is coming and heating up right there the last couple weeks of December and January. I don't know. That would be tough, too, because like if you make MLS Cup, you have what, a 2-week layoff, 3-week layoff until Leagues Cup starts?
Good. I mean, Columbus Crew already gets 2 weeks off before their Leagues Cup matches start. And bowl games, I think, are on their way out. So I'm betting the under on bowl games mattering from here on out. But yeah.
Yeah, I still think that the answer, I mean, it's never going to happen. The answer is to scrap MLS Cup playoffs and do Leagues Cup instead of the MLS Cup playoffs. If you're not going to do that, I don't know. Like, why is Leagues Cup, like, we stop what we're doing to play Leagues Cup? Virtually every other tournament that is a mid-season tournament that gets played around the world, they work it into the fixtures
right
as they go around during the course of the season. And, I mean, over in Europe, or over in England, we'll say, just use England as an example. They all play in the FA Cup. A lot of them play in what is the other one? The League Cup or the League Championship or whatever the hell that is. The other one.
The League Cup. Yep.
The League Cup. And then they all play in the Premier League. So it's like they got 3 tournaments going on at the same time. If you're in Champions League, that's a 4th. Or if you're in Europa, that's a 4th. There's a way to do this that keeps fixture congestion as a minimum, that doesn't require you to just drop what you're doing and play these games. I don't understand why there's this need to just stop what you're doing and play the Leagues Cup. I get it as like a first year thing to sort of introduce the tournament to everyone. But once it's established, move it into the middle of the season like every other tournament is.
Yeah. The other way
That's why we're boycotting it.
Wait a second.
What?
The other thing you could do is don't pause your league, but prioritize Leagues Cup. So for this month-long stretch, league games move to weekdays, but Leagues Cup games move to weekends. That would be sort of a little shift you could make to give the priority to Leagues Cup. This system, again, the other solution and the easiest solution is just, as Grayson said, run it during whatever the summer competition is. Copa America, Euros, potentially even the World Cup. Give your local fans something to root for.
Oh, can you imagine the howling if they were running a tournament at the same time as the World Cup? I don't think you can
run a tournament. So you can't run a tournament at the same time as the World Cup when it's in the US.
Yes.
But they've played MLS during the World Cup before, haven't they?
They do every single time. The only time they didn't was during the Winter World Cup. But otherwise, They do take a 2-week break for the group stage, and then they resume during the knockouts. Yeah. I guess the assumption is that teams are more likely to be missing players during group stages than the knockouts.
Yeah, but it's like, okay, you play during the Copa America, you play during the World Cup, but this Leagues Cup is so important we have to pause the season for a month.
Got to make that money while you can. And again, first year, completely get it. Now,
FC Cincinnati's season's been paused for like 3 months.
Yeah, that's what it feels like.
They haven't played a meaningful game in since like April.
Yeah.
So long as we're in a playoff position, getting knocked out by Monterrey was the last time we played a meaningful match.
I mean, that's the other thing too, is that like I don't know. If you're going to do Leagues Cup, what's the point of CONCACAF Champions League?
Well, that's just music to MLS and Liga MX's ears. That was their intention.
Right. Like, who gives a fuck? Like,
well, you get to play Herediano and
right.
Cavalier.
Right. You get to be embarrassed by a Haitian club.
Right. And you'll have to point me on a map where either one of those two places are.
Well, on any map, your thumb could pretty much cover up every single city that they would be playing in Costa Rica.
Right.
There's Jamaica. There's Costa Rica.
I mean, I'm sure the Linder family knows where all these places are, but I sure as hell don't.
Right. They have holdings in all of them.
Right.
They've broken labor movements in all of those places.
They've got cabinet members in all these places.
So, like, before we get into the meat and potatoes of the Leagues Cup, and break down the groups, just as to wrap up the theory of the Leagues Cup. Kevin, you and I talked about this when Grayson wasn't with us on over the weekend, or
when he was dead.
When he was dead, yeah, when he died. It's tragic. Glad he's back with us now. Much like Wolverine, we dug the corpse up, and here he finds himself again.
Hey.
So we have matches now. And the first couple, there have been some sparsely attended Leagues Cup match, and the boycott and the protest, it seems to, I can't tell if it's having an effect or if they're claiming victory when really the culprit is people don't want to pay extra money for these matches. That if you're
I need to know if these are teams where they included the Leagues Cup in the season tickets or not.
Yeah.
That's question number one for me before I can draw any conclusions.
So, but the other thing is too, I almost don't think it matters because I think these would have been poorly attended matches anyway. And I think if you had stated that there was going to be a supporters or fan protest of the Open Cup because MLS wasn't participating, that they were going to boycott the cup, I think you'd have a lot more evidence to say that that was successful, that there was a lot more empty stadiums across USL, across the lower divisions, the amateur clubs, even the MLS teams, that it's probably the easiest thing in the world to claim that you're going to lead a protest movement of any game that isn't an MLS regular season game, and you would look like you were successful. Champions League, same idea. Hell, some of the playoff games and those play-in games were not as attended as they could have been. I don't think that there is a meaningful shift here. There were some awful optics in Atlanta, for example, looked really bad. I think the reported attendance was 40,000 because they had already been included in their season tickets.
Yeah, but the Atlanta thing was it was interesting because there was obviously there was not 40,000 people there.
Right.
It didn't seem like there was 5,000 people there.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. It's interesting because of specifically what Don Garber said.
Yes.
Where Don Garber was talking about Open Cup, and he's like, "Well, we're gonna have, Atlanta playing in front of 5,000 people, or whatever."
And they basically did that with Leagues Cup.
And they basically did it with Leagues Cup, yeah. And yeah, I don't know, it's.
I think at a minimum, it shows how silly MLS's fight with USSF about the Open Cup really is. That
it's MLS could have had 40,000 people for that Atlanta game if they had included it in the season tickets, but they included the Leagues Cup in it instead, so they get to report 40,000 for Leagues Cup, and they get to count that revenue as Leagues Cup revenue, I guess. But MLS could have as many or as little people basically for Open Cup and Leagues Cup equally.
Yes.
It's a choice. If the Open Cup the Open Cup, there's no reason the Open Cup product needs to be any worse than the MLS product or Leagues Cup product.
Yeah.
It's a choice for it to be worse.
Absolutely. And sure, there are absolutely things USSF could do to ensure a higher quality product for Open Cup. We all know them. they can mandate a certain quality of field. They can set a bracket ahead of time so that teams know when they may be playing. You can give a right of first refusal to hosting to lower division teams or the lower seeded teams if you want to seed every team in the field up until, say, the semifinals or something like that. Whatever the case may be, there are ways to do that you have to say, okay, Des Moines Menace, you can host if you can support 3 broadcast cameras and a TV crew, like an announcing crew, can be there. And if you can do that, great. We'll send our broadcast partners out there. And if you can't, you don't get to host. Sorry, you've lost your right here. Super easy. This happens all over the world. This is something that U.S. Soccer could then help teams, say Des Moines Menace, say, hey, Creighton or whatever down the street has a stadium that is suitable. It'll cost you $30,000 to rent it. Here's the check. We'll make sure you guys get this in place. Whatever the case may be, that's fine. Or even if MLS wanted to be good stewards of the sport, the owners could put up a certain amount of money to ensuring a higher quality product, if that is truly what they are worried about. But I think the Leagues Cup early on shows that that's not actually the concern here. And I don't think anybody actually believed that was the concern.
And we've talked about this before, but it's hard to like, for me, it's hard to take a complaint about field conditions seriously when DC United gets like banned from Leagues Cup, from hosting in Leagues Cup because their field is too bad, because they're having like a Megan Thee Stallion concert the day before they're supposed to host a game.
And they're like,
or like watching this NYCFC Querétaro game right now. Yeah, like that's like, if you wanted to complain about field conditions, at least watch any NYCFC home game. Yep. Like it's silly. Like the complaints, the MLS's complaints about Open Cup to me are silly. It's silly to pretend that the Leagues Cup exists for any reason other than MLS wanting more control of both like cup and continental competition. Yeah.
And inventory to sell to Apple was a big piece. Yeah.
That doesn't, right. And that doesn't mean it's like not a fun tournament.
No.
Correct. It was a fun tournament last year. I expect it'll be a fun tournament this year, although I haven't admittedly been able to watch very much of it yet.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. The whole I think it's silly to me that anyone would claim that, a boycott is successful right now, because nobody gives a fuck about the Open Cup. That's like the whole thing here, is that the Open Cup is fiercely defended by an incredibly small cadre of individuals online, most of whom don't attend the matches. But like, I've been to these Open Cup games. Nobody goes to those either. I think the bottom line is just that the support of soccer in this country, you'll get people to the regular season games, but the minute you tell them there's another extra thing to go to, most people just don't give a shit.
Mm-hmm. Didn't Chivas San Jose have like north of 50,000 people last night?
Yeah.
And like, we'll see how the tournament's supported when we get to the knockout rounds, I think.
Yeah.
Like there's teams like FC Cincinnati who draw well game in, game out, who haven't hosted any games yet.
Be real interested to see what that crowd looks like on Thursday.
It's going to be real interesting.
Yeah.
It's going to be real interesting. But I don't think you can draw any conclusions either way from it. No. I'm just saying like there's going to be teams hosting games. The real interesting one is going to be the second game, the game against NYCFC.
Yeah.
Right. There's no sex appeal to
it's
it.
Not
in a Mexican
It's not
team.
included in your season tickets.
Neither was this one.
No, this one was.
Was it? I don't think any of them were they?
Was it not?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
What?
I think you're able to
Did I buy this ticket? Do I even have a ticket to this game?
Yeah, hopefully you didn't spend too much.
Wait, was it included? I thought for certain I opted out of the Leagues Cup.
Yeah, I opted out, but I have this game.
Yeah, so do I. What the fuck?
Yeah, it was included.
Okay.
You had to buy Monterey.
Oh, I also don't have New York City, so I guess you would have.
I don't have New York City.
Okay.
Yeah, you had to opt into.
Grayson and I well, shit. I guess I'm going to this game on Thursday.
Yeah, so the NYCFC game is going to be the interesting one to see what the attendance is like, because it's not included in your season ticket package, and or Chief and I didn't both buy it in our sleep.
No, if it was included in my season ticket package, until this very second, I was making other plans for Thursday because I thought I'd opted out of this tournament.
So maybe we get a 25,000 announced attendance. But
Wait. We need to make a public service announcement. If you're listening to this right now, check your SeatGeek app. You may think you've opted out of this tournament. You may already have tickets in your digital wallet right now.
You may already be a winner.
Look under your seat.
If you thought you were going to skip Leagues Cup because, I'm not paying for that bullshit.
You paid for that bullshit.
I will say, if there was a game to get included in your season ticket package, it was the Querétaro game.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm okay getting that game included because, as we've said,
it's neat.
I'm way more interested in the cross league competition than I am playing against NYCFC again for like the 15th time.
I gotta text some people to go to this game.
Yeah, you're right, Grayson, because the other option would have been getting the Cavalier match included in your season.
No, you got the Cavalier match.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Okay, look, I know that like we don't have any object permanence, but I'm pretty sure that we got the Cavalier match.
Okay.
And the Querétaro match, because the first Monterey match was technically not guaranteed.
Right.
Right, because you had to get past Cavalier.
That makes sense.
So what they do is they give you the 17 league games. They give you 2 quote-unquote international competition games, which is either the first Champions League game and the first Leagues Cup game, or if you don't make Champions League, the 2 group Leagues Cup games.
Interesting. Okay. I don't have season tickets, so I can only guess and assume from my point of view here. So
we're only passively familiar with the fact that there's a team.
Right.
Somebody told us if we could get $1 off a beer, and we just figured it out. We just started this podcast.
Just accidentally ended up here. 35 minutes in, we are just now finding out that 2 of the 3 of us have tickets to this game.
So to be clear, I knew I had tickets to this game. I only second guessed myself because of Chief's confidence, which is part of the dynamic of this podcast. It was just Chief being very confidently wrong.
I clearly
so confidently wrong that
out.
like those of us who are undeniably correct still question our own
that, folks,
sense of self.
You just whatever the last 5 minutes of this was is the Dunning-Kruger effect, like to a T.
Anyway, wow, cool.
I don't even know what we were talking about. We love Leagues Cup.
Always have been. Always have been.
These games are going to be real bangers. We love getting to play NYCFC like 7 times in a year.
At least it's not the Red Bulls this go around.
Yeah, it's true.
It was so close to
it'll be cool to, lose to like a Nashville or something in the knockout rounds again. This tournament matters. It serves very clear identified purposes.
Yep.
And it's going to be very important to growing the game of soccer in the United States for years to come. So let's talk about, preview the groups. I don't know. How do we talk about this? We've already told you guys, look, I know people complained about this. We got some bad feedback on Reddit last year. We went through and we told you all about all the Liga MX teams. And then people are like, well, it was really just like somebody had looked them all up on Wikipedia. And I'm like, yeah, we saved you the time of doing that.
Right. Yeah. Did you really want to do there and do your own book report? Come on.
We did it in like 2 hours. It's first of all, we're going to need like 17 more street side level sponsorships for that to happen.
Yeah.
But second of all, like, nobody's going to be able to give you a podcast where you go deep into the teams. We gave you the history of the teams. We gave you some key players they have. I'm sure the players are all the same. If they aren't, it doesn't really matter. And so we're not going to do that for you this year. We're just going to talk about the groups. And you know what? Instead of even doing that level of research, I've done no research.
Vibes-based predictions. No, it'd be really funny to sit here and tell you that.
I looked at the Liga MX table. I mean, I looked at how these teams are doing.
Oh, okay.
I looked it up, but I think I've lost that tab.
Good.
There's so many groups too. That's the other thing too. It's like we're gonna break down all these groups. Like, oh, there's like 15 of them. No, I think
Kevin is gonna say the groups.
Yep.
And we're just gonna say who we think finishes top 2 in them.
I like this. However, before we do that, I do want to say,
watch Leagues Cup. Leagues Cup, if you want to sponsor us,
holla.
We'll shut up about all the negative stuff that happened at the first part of this podcast.
I think we've been like the most positive coverage Leagues Cup has gotten from any non-league owned media this entire year.
That's entirely true. Non-league owned or not trying to be league owned. Yes. It was funny. I was going to say, hey, we should start with FC Cincinnati's group first. Folks, the way this is written, we're starting with FC Cincinnati first. I don't know if folks remember this from last year, but they tried to do like 4 regions and the regions didn't make any sense at all. And this time around, they have finally gone ahead and just done East and West. So there are 7 East groups. There are 8 Western groups. The Mexican teams just end up wherever. There is no sense of geography with them ending up in East or West. I think they just went based on balancing these groups out. But as far as I can tell, with very few exceptions, they have gone generally East and West with the groups. I see Chicago has migrated over to the West, which is fine, I would say, for our geographical purposes. Other than that, yeah, nobody else looks out of place.
If LAFC had won MLS Cup, Chicago probably would have stayed East.
That makes sense.
Because Crew get a pass out of the group stage from having won MLS Cup.
Yes. Yeah, so we'll start there. Crew gets a bye, and so does Club America as the champions of their leagues last time around, which puts us into our groups. We'll start off with E1, East 1, and that is, hey, look at that, FC Cincinnati, NYCFC, and Querétaro. I believe elsewhere on the Leagues Cup website, they have all of the teams seeded. And if memory serves me correct, FC Cincinnati is seeded 3rd in this tournament, which is pretty cool. Querétaro
probably top seed after Columbus and Club America.
Yes. So
I think we have hosting. I think we have hosting priority basically throughout the knockout stage.
Should we win our league, yes, we would be hosting every match, including the semifinal and then final. Yeah, because I don't know that Club America gets their hosting rights through the final. Club America gets it through the semifinals in the state of California. So yes, we are good. I'll touch on that as we touch on some of these other teams. First, Grayson, what is the current score between NYCFC and Querétaro?
NYCFC just beat Querétaro in penalties.
Hey, look at that. So NYCFC gets 2 points, Querétaro getting 1 point, which if we win against Querétaro, I think we're through. That's not really how it works, but that's how it feels. Okay. So
no, we are.
Oh, is that exactly how it works?
Querétaro is on 1 point, NYCFC is on 2 points.
So if we win,
if we beat Querétaro, they're out.
Oh, if they'd have played both their games in the
because
group
they played,
stage.
yeah.
God, 3-team groups are so stupid.
It's really dumb.
Yeah. So yeah, win and we're
winning
Thursday and we're through.
Win and we're in, and then we can run the 3 2-team players out and claim that we.
Oh, you want to see attendance fall off a fucking cliff? a FC Cincinnati NYCFC match with nothing on the line.
I think that there would be hosting in the first knockout round
Cool.
on the line.
Neat.
I think, and I'm pulling this up, but I think that you
Group winners always get to host.
I think group winners host the first knockout round, and then after the first knockout round, it's by like tournament seed.
That feels right, but I don't like it. Okay, so should FC Cincinnati win, they would face the second place team out of E7, which is Atlanta United, DC United, and Santos Laguna. Or should FC Cincinnati finish second in E1, they would get... Where is E1?
Okay, yeah.
Second?
So sorry.
Okay, yeah, you're good.
The Leagues Cup ranking table determines the host club for the knockout stages,
Perfect.
including the final. If an MLS club plays another MLS club, the higher seeded team in a Leagues Cup will be the host club. So that will be us against anybody except for Columbus. MLS through the knockout rounds get hosting priority over Liga MX clubs, except for Club America, Monterrey,
Right.
and Chivas, which host at their hub stadiums, which are like various, like they've been assigned home
And
stadiums.
Tigres, they're included in there as well. There's 4 teams that have hosting privileges.
Okay, I'm looking at the 2024 tournament regulations, and they don't list Tigres.
Okay.
And then, but the crew have the right to host until the final, and Club America has hub privileges until the semifinals.
Yes. Monterrey has hub privileges through the round of 16 in Texas. Chivas is through the round of 32 in California. And Tigres is through the group stages in the state of Texas.
So there you go. So that's probably why Tigres is not included, because it's only through the group stage.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the knockout round regulations.
Gotcha. Okay. So yeah, Tigres gets to host in Texas, which means it is Miami going to Texas to play Tigres, because Leagues Cup is weird. So there you go.
So basically, so we're on the same side. We're on the same side as the crew and not Club America. So we would host in the knockout rounds against anybody until the semifinal.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So then looking at the potential group.
Well, unless we're second in that group. We'd host against anybody but Columbus.
Yeah. So again, if we win, we would get the second place team of Atlanta, Santa Lagunas, or DC United. Should we come second, we would get the winner of Group 5 in the East, which is New England Revolution, Nashville, and Mazatlan, which
has already lost.
Yes, I was going to say would be a shocker if they made it out of the group. So there you go. The groups that I have here, I don't have. Oh, there we are.
Anyway, let's pick our group.
Now I've got our matches. Okay, so how do we see our group shaking out? Grayson, who wins it?
NYCFC.
Okay, so that has us winning.
Second. We finish second.
Okay, so some sort of positive result against Querétaro and then losing to NYCFC in some negative way. Chief, how do you see it shaking out?
We'll win.
We win the group?
Yeah, we'll win the group. The thing is that this tournament is insanely punitive. And part of the reason why I think it's kind of bullshit, if we're being honest. Like, I love the idea of Leagues Cup, but it's
start now.
If like the travel for the Mexican teams is rough.
Yeah.
And for the teams that aren't top level Mexican sides, and Querétaro is not a top level Mexican side. They finished 10th in the Clausura last year. They are, I think, in dead last right now. Yeah, after 4 matches this year, they're in dead last. That kind of travel on a team, for a team that I guess you would otherwise say is fighting off relegation, but we don't do that anymore here. I think that they'll beat Querétaro, and once they beat Querétaro, that NYCFC match is just going to be
Who cares?
who cares, and I'll give us the advantage because neither side is really going to care, and we're playing at home.
So a couple of quick things about Querétaro. They have at least 3 MLS connections.
Ooh.
In their roster. There's Ake Loba,
Yeah.
former DP at Nashville. Rubio Rubin on loan from Real Salt Lake.
That's a fun name.
And Ronaldo Cisneros, formerly of Atlanta United.
I don't remember that one. So there you go. Rubio Rubin was supposed to be, again, one of those like saviors of the U.S. men's national team that just
and then
never...
he ended up not making it and declaring for Guatemala.
Sick.
There's also a guy named Brayton Vasquez.
That's fun.
Yeah.
I also, like, when I say they've been terrible this year, there is a caveat to that. And if you look at their team form, here's who's Querétaro has played in their last four matches to start the year.
Okay.
They've lost to Monterrey.
Yep.
They've lost to Chivas.
Sure.
They've lost to Club America.
Okay.
And they've lost to Tijuana.
Okay. So lost to Tijuana, maybe something there, but that's a rough stretch.
Yeah, that's...
But Mexican teams have not done well in this tournament so far.
No.
Yeah.
I think they're like, what, 5-5?
I think they've won one game.
1-5-1, I think.
Oof.
Yeah.
Well, I was originally going to say we were getting grouped, but with this newest information, yeah, we're going to win the group.
Grouped become a thing? I don't recall anyone ever saying grouped as we're getting, what is it, a verb or noun or whatever?
Knocked out of the group.
Knocked
Yeah,
out
I don't
in
ever
the
remember
group
hearing the word
stages.
grouped before.
I like it, personally. It's pithy.
It is good. Maybe too close to groped, but otherwise,
I mean,
I think it works.
Neither one happens consensually. All right, group 2.
Anyway, group 2 is Orlando, San Luis, and Montreal. San Luis, again, is the team owned by Atletico Madrid. Also own the Ottawa team in the CPL. I think they still do that. Orlando beat Montreal. San Luis has yet to play. This feels like almost feels like the group stage after first game is probably how it stays. It's always going to be like my default. So this is Orlando and San Luis getting through. Does anybody disagree with that playing out that way?
Probably not.
And that was a proper win. That was a full 3 points, 0 to Montreal.
Yeah, Montreal's pretty bad. I mean, when I say that and they beat us, but you know.
Yeah, but who hasn't?
That doesn't mean
get in
nothing.
line.
Yeah, that feels right.
Yeah.
The only thing is, like, I don't know how good San Luis is, and Mexican teams have done poorly in this tournament, so they're going to be playing in Montreal. You know what? I'll go Orlando, Montreal.
Okay. So sort of default to MLS teams unless it's
I mean, that's the
one
way
of
it
the
was.
big
That's the way it was
six.
last
Or
year.
unless I feel otherwise.
Oh, okay.
Jurgen Damm plays for San Luis.
Damn, okay, that is a former Atlanta guy I have heard of. Group 3, truly the group of death, as it were. Inter Miami, Tigres, and Puebla in this one.
Jesus, that's a good group.
Inter Miami has already beaten Puebla 2-0. Tigres has hosting priority in this group, as in Puebla and Inter Miami will have to travel to a Texas stadium site to play them. This is a fun group.
Inter Miami and Tigres. Like,
Yeah,
it's a
Inter
fun
Miami
group,
won,
but like,
Inter Miami won, Tigres 2 for me.
yeah, there's a clear line of demarcation between Tigres and Puebla and Inter Miami.
Because the thing is, like, and I know he's not going to be playing, but so Miami goes to Texas to play Tigres. Miami's probably the one team in MLS that is going to have a lot of people showing up in pink.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, well, in like their jersey in an away stadium versus like a Mexican team.
Yeah. Man, I wonder if they flex that to NRG Stadium in Houston or whatever.
If Messi was playing, probably, but
Oh, that's a good call. That's a good call.
But they won't flex it. But I'll go. I'm going Miami 1, Tigres 2.
Yeah, I think that makes the most sense, especially with doing this 1/3 of the way through the groups. So much easier, let me tell you.
I'll give Tigres the win. I think Tigres will beat Miami without Messi, and I think Tigres will beat Puebla. The hosting privileges are pretty big. Making that a true road game for Miami is different.
Miles traveled. I'm pretty sure Miami will be traveling more than Tigres for that one. Group 4 in the East is Philadelphia, Cruz Azul, and Charlotte. And just to help us out, Philadelphia beat Charlotte 1-0.
Philadelphia, don't call it a comeback.
Yeah, I really think
that's
they
water
just had
finding
like
its level.
Well, yeah, a couple of guys came back from injury, and they're like, "Oh, right, they're still a really good team."
Yeah, Cruz Azul is currently leading. Is top of the table in Liga MX currently, sitting on 10 points after 4 matches played.
Wow.
They're off to a hot start right now. I believe they have former Atlanta United player Georgios Giacomakis.
Yep,
that's true. So for that reason, I will go Cruz Azul 1, Philly 2, Charlotte 3.
Yeah, I'll go the same.
I'm gonna do the same.
Hey, an easy one. That's fun.
Like that.
Probably another easy one. Group 5, New England, Nashville, Mazatlan. As a reminder, Mazatlan is barely a team.
Yeah, they are second to last currently. With after 4 matches played, they have 1 point.
Well,
I want to throw out for Mazatlan. They have Ventura Alvarado.
I know that one.
Former. It's a name you've not heard in a long time, but former U.S. national team player, briefly Inter Miami player. One of those
was he really?
Nationals. Yeah, very. He came up for a cup of coffee.
That's funny.
To Inter Miami during I think when they were a bit of a mess.
Yeah. He is a sort of messy team signing. So yeah. Yeah, New England did beat Mazatlan 1-0, which gives them 3 points. And honestly, again, that feels like where this ends. New England 1, Nashville 2, Mazatlan 3. I think
Nashville's really bad though.
Also beat us.
Yeah. But again, who hasn't lately?
Would Nashville host
New England, Nashville?
Yeah.
I don't know who's hosting that game.
I assume Nashville for no reason.
Probably Nashville, because New England finished behind them last year, right?
Yeah, they collapsed late. Yeah. Let's just confidently say it and move on. East Group 6, our second to last Eastern group.
New England finished ahead of Nashville last year. New England
New England will host that. Yeah. So we'll go New England, Nashville.
Okay,
yeah,
New England, Nashville, which is how it is now. Perfect. Group 6.
No marzipan getting out of that group.
You've got Toronto, New York Red Bulls, and Pachuca. Toronto and New York Red Bulls, they drew in their first game with Toronto but winning in penalty kicks, giving them a 2-1 advantage. Pachuca, recent Champions League winners. Any reason to think they can't advance out of this group?
They've off to a slow start. They're currently in 12th right now in the Apertura for the 2024-2025 season.
It's out of 18 teams?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I tend to think it'll be Red Bulls, Pachuca, and Toronto getting left out.
Didn't Kevin say Toronto beat Red Bull?
Toronto beat Red Bull, so
Toronto's got 2 points, Red Bull's got 1 point.
Basically means both Red Bull and Pachuca probably can't advance. It would be tricky.
I was gonna say Pachuca, Toronto, Red Bull.
I don't know about that.
We may be looking right at it.
Pachuca's got Salman Rondon. They got Borja Baston.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Pachuca and Toronto. It just feels weird that the Red Bulls are going to be left out with how well they've been playing this year.
Yeah, they didn't take 2 or 3 against Toronto. It's tough to.
Yeah. Well, don't disagree.
Damn. And that takes us to Group 7, and this is an important one. I probably should have highlighted this in Group 5, but potentially, should we win our group, which the door is open, we would place the second place team out of this one, DC United, Atlanta United, and Santos. DC United, it won penalties. I don't know how to say it cleanly. Took 2 points in their match against Atlanta. Atlanta took 1. Santos waiting to play both of them. I think it's DC 1, Santos 2. But Santos could beat both of them and go DC second, Santos first, but that seems unlikely.
Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and say that this is one of those ones where both the MLS teams go through, DC and Atlanta. Santos, bottom of the table, Liga MX. We already know, and we've talked about it a lot, how hard travel is on the Mexican teams. I'll say DC and Atlanta go through on this one.
So
I'm going DC Santos.
So we all three agree DC probably wins this group, which means FC Cincinnati, should they win their group, we think would be playing Atlanta or Santos. Exciting.
So then I'm definitely going Santos because I'd rather play a Mexican team.
Right. Keep it interesting.
In the knockout stage than play Atlanta again.
Perfect. That takes us over to the Western groups, which are pretty fun. You've got in West Group 1.
Here's a question we didn't predict.
Ooh, please.
Does Awazim play in the group stage?
Yes.
Okay. I think so too.
I think he gets his visa completed sometime today or tomorrow. Like when you're listening to this on Monday.
I think he gets it done before the first game.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And I think he starts the first game.
I agree.
Whoa.
But we didn't talk about it, so I just figured we should make a prediction on that.
All right. Works for me. That takes us to Western Group 1, Austin FC, Monterrey, and Pumas. Austin beat Pumas.
Wait, what's the MLS team in this group?
Austin FC. But Austin beat Pumas 3-2.
Handily.
It's a wild one.
All right.
You got Monterrey has not played them. Austin Monterrey feels easy to predict here, but if Pumas were to take a point off of Monterrey, it would change things.
Yeah.
I'm going Monterrey Austin.
Monterrey Austin. That feels solid. Chief, do you disagree?
I want to, but like in a 3-group stage, losing any game is just, you're done, basically.
Right.
Like you got to at least get that point off the draw if you want to keep your chances alive. Taking an outright L, you're kind of screwed. So yeah.
Losing the first game is tough, especially losing it outright.
Yeah, losing outright is brutal.
Pumas is really good, though. That's wild that they lost that match.
That kind of tells you what's going on with this tournament right now, right? Yeah. Like
the travel.
Austin is terrible.
Yeah. They're really bad. Their fans are in outright revolt about their manager not being fired.
And Pumas dominated the underlying stats of that game.
Yeah.
Nevertheless. Austin persisted.
And this is why they won't send matches to Mexico in this tournament, because the exact opposite would happen if MLS teams had to travel to Mexico to play these games. They would all get flattened going to Mexico.
Diarrhea.
Yeah.
All right.
Western Group 2.
We feel good about that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems pretty obvious.
Yeah. Western Group 2, San Jose, Chivas, LA Galaxy.
This is San Jose with 2 points over Chivas on the top of this fucking group. San Jose is awful. Like they're awful.
I think this group ends with Chivas knocked out. because of this result. I think
and
LA.
That's so fucking stupid. San Jose is 9 points below their nearest competitor for the wooden spoon this year. They are objectively fucking awful.
And yet.
Which is perfect because Galaxy will beat them. I think that's pretty easy. That's the next game in the group.
Galaxy's going to take 6 points in this group, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
No, Galaxy is really good. Galaxy's really good right now.
Galaxy's phenomenal, like out of nowhere seemingly this year. But this right here, this is a microcosm. This West Group 2 and West Group 1 of what MLS needs to fix in this tournament if it's going to survive long term, is that you have a fucking credibility problem when San Jose is advancing out of this group over a team like Chivas, when San Jose being far and away the worst team in the league. It's a credibility problem when Pumas is not advancing in your tournament because they get clipped by Austin in just a wacky game on American soil. Like, that's a problem for this tournament.
Austin was down a man and scored 2 goals. Yeah,
classic.
I mean, I don't disagree. I think the standard of competition needs to, somehow get 10 feet higher, and Mexico has to pay for it.
And cynically, Apple is selling fewer subscriptions when Chivas is knocked out and not in the knockout rounds than when San Jose is advancing.
Yeah, it's that, and it's also like no one's like, if you're a serious fan, no one takes this. Like, you can't take it seriously when the objectively better clubs are continuously missing the later stages of the tournament.
I mean, here's the line on that. It's why competitions are inherently less important than the league trophy, because cup competitions are so dependent on like more random factors.
Yeah.
That's why the Shield is the real
champion
of MLS.
Yeah, it is.
I was just sitting waiting for the follow-up.
I don't think I needed to explicitly say it, but apparently I did.
It's implied. Western Group 3. Whatever the opposite of the group of death is, I guess they say group of life. I don't like it. It doesn't convey the same.
I don't like it either.
It doesn't convey the same idea that group of death does. St. Louis City, Juarez, and FC Dallas battle this one out. St. Louis City beat Dallas 2-1 to start things off. I don't think Juarez has it in them to get a win outright on the road, although I would say Dallas is probably the most likely candidate for them to beat.
What's the travel distance from Juarez to Dallas? That has to be the shortest distance any Liga MX team is flying for a game, right?
And it's still longer than any team has to travel in Champions League in Europe.
Right. The European mind cannot comprehend.
Because it's like a third of the way across Texas or something.
Texas is just unfathomably big.
I think Juarez is closer to LA than it is like Houston. So, yeah.
Texas is an absurd place.
Anyway,
St. Louis City, Dallas.
Yep.
It feels right. Although, Juarez beating Dallas wouldn't be shocking.
Juarez also sitting on a cool point thus far in the MLS or in the Liga MX.
Does anybody play for Juarez? Sebastian Saucedo, Jonathan Gonzalez, former US,
Jonathan Gonzalez? People losing their minds about him not committing to the US?
Yep, no longer even on Monterrey. Francisco Calvo, former MLS player.
There we go.
Jairo Torres, former MLS player. Played for Chicago Fire.
Juarez is owned by by an ownership group that also owns the El Paso Locomotive in USL, which is fun.
Classic. A couple other Americans I never heard of on that team. So, all right.
There you go. I'm going to guess El Paso and Juarez moving players back and forth across the border pretty easily. Western Group 4, which has a match ongoing at the moment. Sporting Kansas City is beating Chicago 2-1. You got Toluca is the third team in this group, Chicago, god awful. But can Toluca go on the road to both of these? I will say probably. Sporting Kansas City Toluca feels actually like a pretty good bet in my book, but I'm wondering what you guys think.
Seems right, just because of how bad Chicago is.
I bet Toluca has more fans in Chicago than Chicago has in Chicago.
Yeah, I'll go Toluca SKC.
Ooh, Toluca top of the group.
Yeah, or more specifically, Toluca whoever takes more of the points between SKC and Chicago. Which right now it's SKC.
Yes. A fluid situation, as somebody else might say. Western Group 5, you have León. You have Portland and Colorado. León and Portland at the moment are in a draw-tied game. But I have to imagine there's still quite a bit of time remaining on that match.
It's in the 9th minute.
Yeah. There we go.
That's the one I have on my second screen right
now. There you go. I've got 2 blinking gray dots looking at me on FOTMOP. Colorado is a dark horse contender for the Shield at the moment. As a very good team, they play at altitude. I could see Colorado easily winning this group. Portland is not particularly good, but their weird artificial pitch in León having to travel to them is probably quite an advantage.
Does Colorado have to travel to Portland?
I believe, yeah, they'll have to go, I think. Because I'll take Colorado top of the group and León second. I'm going to say Portland. It's hard to, now we're really flying blind based on whether or not there's whoever wins this game. I'm going to say Portland, Colorado. I'll bet Portland pulls something out in this game.
Imagine predicting stuff before it happens. Impossible.
It's hard.
Impossible.
So annoying that 2 of these games are still ongoing.
If nothing had happened, I would feel better about making the prediction, but something is happening right now, and it's fucking with me a little bit.
Yeah, a tied game. I keep saying a draw. A tied game ongoing is, you could be proven wrong within seconds of you making a prediction.
Well, I'll take Colorado top of the group, and then whoever takes points here.
Ooh. Dicey. Yeah,
it'll be Portland. The artificial playing surface is the great equalizer here.
I'll say whoever wins the group is whoever gets the most points in the group stage.
Bold.
So
it's bold.
All right, next group.
Western Group 6, the Seattle Sounders, Oaxaca, and Minnesota.
Oaxaca Tua.
Oh, jeez.
I'm so tired of that.
Has anything so...
I thought it was funny the first time I saw it, and then the second time somebody referenced it, it was done.
I've never found it funny, and I don't know why I just made that reference. I've hated it since Jump.
It does remind me a little bit of Charlie Bit My Finger.
Holy shit, Portland just hit León just hit a real nice goal.
I'd like to revise my prediction, please.
Don't worry.
The green threw me for a second, but I knew who it was.
The green team just scored real good goal.
It was a nice hit.
Nice.
Yeah. Seattle Sounders beat Minnesota.
He hocked to a spin. Jeez. God, I hate that so much.
It's everything that's wrong with America in a nutshell. It's somebody getting famous for 20 seconds of stupidity.
It's perfect because it's the exact kind of thing that Elon would see and think it's inherently the funniest thing he'd ever seen in his entire life.
Yes.
And just get obsessed with because he would just be like, that's so epic. Right? Because she's she's on Twitter. She's got 1 million followers. She's doing videos with Elon. She was on Bill Maher's Club Random.
How? Why? What
Which is
doing?
I don't know how that exists. That has to have 4 4 listeners.
Yeah.
Anyway, I can't I can't do it. We've already talked about this enough. We'll go in Colorado Leon. Next group.
I hate to do this to you, but it was Seattle, Necaxa,
Oh, that's right.
and Minnesota. So
I'll go. Minnesota, Seattle.
Necaxa, what are they doing right now? 11th on the Liga MX standings right now. Last season, 9th. So we're talking about a firmly mid-table team. This
Necaxa.
tournament is death for mid-table
Necaxa,
Mexican teams. I'll say, Seattle, Minnesota.
Deal done, signed, sealed, delivered.
Group 7. Wait, hold on.
Oh.
Minnesota
I said Minnesota, Seattle.
Minnesota's already taken the straight L, though. So I'm going to say Seattle, Necaxa.
Who did Minnesota lose to?
Seattle.
I'll go Seattle, Minnesota.
Deal. Group 7 is LAFC, Vancouver, and Tijuana, with LAFC having defeated the mighty Tijuana Cholos 3-0.
I'll go LFC, Vancouver.
LAFC, Vancouver. Yeah, same.
I think I'm supposed to pronounce it Zolos and not Cholos.
I think it's Cholos. I think it's Cholos.
Is it Cholos? Okay.
I think it's Cholos.
Are they named after that song "Lean Like a Cholo" from back in the day?
No, they're named after a dog. It's like a Cholo Haquitli or something.
Yeah.
Then
It's
why
like
is
a
their logo a
hairless
goat?
dog. I don't know what to tell you.
I mean,
I think it's a hairless dog. No,
I don't think it's a goat. I do think it's one of the dogs. Is the crest? I think they're the
it's a hairless dog.
I think they're the only
Xolo
Mexican team that plays on an artificial pitch.
Yeah, Cholo is Quintles.
Look at this guy.
No, Emmanuel Reynoso is playing for them. Good
Yeah.
for him. He's found work.
Well,
And Joe Corona is still there? Hell yeah.
Yep. Joe Corona's there. Let's remember some guys.
Guys who really just sit around the bar and just name old sports figures all day.
And that finishes us up with West Group 8.
Efrain Alvarez is also on Tijuana.
Wow. I was going to say Lucho Acosta's old team, Atlas, RSL, and Houston. Atlas already beat Houston 1-0. RSL shield contenders when Chicho Arango is not harassing someone or something. And
No one knows which.
There's literally nobody in the MLS ecosystem is at all curious as to what happened, I guess.
Yeah.
God, could you imagine any other league having an MVP candidate suspended for violating the league anti-harassment policy?
They'd have episodes of NFL Live dedicated to it for weeks in that story alone.
God. It's just like...
I guess you got to go Atlas, Salt Lake.
Yeah, Salt Lake 1, Atlas 2 feels right.
Yeah, I think that's right.
So there you go.
Let's pick a winner.
Overall,
just like throw out a winner, and we'll do it again
After the
before the
stage.
knockout stage.
a bracket. Okay.
Yeah.
Not including those again, Club America and Columbus Crew, who already get a pass to the knockout rounds. It is split up East and West, so you do know the groups in the East won't face each other. The teams in the groups in the East won't face any of the teams in the groups in the West until the final. You get a general sense of how these teams and leagues and things might play out. I will offer the prediction, a very lame prediction, that one of the LA teams will win this competition.
Yeah, I was actually gonna. My team is. I'm gonna pick Galaxy.
Nice. Okay.
I think Galaxy is my pick for winning this tournament.
Then I will go.
They're in good form,
Yeah.
and I think that they probably view this as like a good opportunity for them to win a trophy.
Yeah.
So
Shield is probably out of reach for them.
Here is the problem with picking LA Galaxy, and it's the same problem with picking Colorado, is that since this is based on last year's seeding, they are way down the list, and they're going to be Galaxy will be on the road virtually this entire tournament. So will Colorado. So for that reason, my pick is LAFC to win this.
It's a good pick.
Yeah,
it's a good pick.
The other team if that I think we're probably forgetting that is probably the favorite to win this tournament is the Columbus Crew, I would say.
I know.
They are hotter than a fucking firecracker. They got dumped out of CONCACAF Champions League at the very end. I could see them wanting to prioritize getting a win here to sort of get their win back.
What if Cucho gets sold before the tournament's over?
I mean, that makes this tournament the biggest win of the year for FC Cincinnati so far.
Yeah.
So this is fun. Columbus's first opponent will be one of Philadelphia, Cruz Azul, or Charlotte.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. Charlotte, a team that took points off of Columbus in Columbus not too long ago, and Philadelphia, who is starting to find their footing, and Cruz Azul, one of the bigger teams in Mexico. Yeah.
Kevin, who do you got?
Well, I was going to take LAFC until somebody rudely stole my pick.
That's what I do.
So for that, I will say Inter Miami repeats, and it'll be super boring. So there you go.
I hate it.
Nobody's taking FC Cincinnati. I imagine there will be a more FC Cincinnati focused podcast later this week. However, how far do we think FC Cincinnati goes in this one? Shooting from the hip.
Let's say we win the group. Who's our opponents in the first round?
If we win the group, it's one of DC United, Atlanta, or Santos. So a
and
winnable
if we get second in the group, who's our opponents?
It is one of New England, Nashville, or Mazatlan.
You're almost better off coming in second.
Yeah, I say round of 16.
Round of 16. What is that? 1 win, 2 wins?
We'll win the first knockout round game. Lose the next one.
Is that what we did last year? Or did we lose?
We lost the first knockout round game, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds about right. It would be really annoying if this team went on a run in Leagues Cup out of nowhere. And it's just like, well, what the hell was going on for those last 3 games of the regular season?
Didn't have
Awazim.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they can get Awazim situation sorted, which I think they will, you feel a lot better about them having to play a team like DC with Benteke and having someone else that's like a big body that can match up against him. So, yeah, I'll go with it. They'll win at least 1 game in the knockouts.
Given how the men's Olympic team is performing, you could have Robinson back by the knockouts as well. So
I think they're getting out of that group.
I don't know. So what is the situation for the Olympic team? I don't have it in front of me.
Well, they lost to France, but they smoked New Zealand.
So they've got another game against...
They play Guinea.
Which they should win.
I assume France beat Guinea.
It'd be shocking if they didn't, yeah.
So any result, and I think New Zealand beat Guinea, so I feel like any result against Guinea you're through.
Okay. Well, fine then. I guess I'll just have to live without Miles Robinson a little longer.
I've not been following it that closely, to be honest, because I don't even know if this is a tournament where like some third place teams get through. I know on the women's side, some third place teams get through.
That's a good point.
Yeah, Guinea is on 2 losses. Guinea has no points currently. New Zealand has 3. The U.S. has 3.
If Guinea lost to New Zealand...
Yeah, it's game. Another thing about the Olympics and the group stages, I hate that there are events that happen before the opening ceremony. That's stupid. If you don't have the time to do it, winnow down the field further before the Olympics start. Okay, that's going to do it for the Leagues Cup prediction. Let's head on over to part 2. We'll touch on a brief hint, a smidgen of FC Cincinnati news, and we've got the last handful of July questions to answer from the Patreon. So let's go ahead and do that. Before we get to the next part of the episode, I do want to tell you about our sponsor, Cincy Shirts, which is now the home of official Cincy Postcast merch. This is so exciting, and we really never thought we'd see the day, and yet
here we are, alive and actually seeing the day. Cincy Shirts has been with FC Cincinnati from the beginning. They've been with the Post for ever now, from the beginning. Our very first sponsor. So happy to have them along for this journey. There are 6, count them, 6 different shirts available at this time of recording that you can purchase from their website for real life. This is, again, a real thing that you can do. As I'm sure you know, but I will remind you, they have 3 retail locations, including Fort Mitchell, Loveland, and Oakley Hyde Park, where in those locations, they can print on demand. If they don't have the size of something you want, you can print on demand. I assume this means postcast shirts as well. Give it a shot. Let me know how that goes. If for some reason you do not want to purchase one of our shirts, I won't hold it against you. You can use promo code ThePostCincy. That's all one word, all caps, ThePostCincy for 10% off your next order. This also works with Postcast shirts, so please don't pay full price. Make sure you knock 10% off for yourself on that one. Spread the code far and wide, I guess, and let them know about Cincy Shirts and let them know about the podcast while you're at it. Otherwise, the code doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But again, a huge thank you to Cincy Shirts for sponsoring this episode and so many before it. And if I do see you out there with a t-shirt, I will be embarrassed for you, but I will probably give you a high five and tell you well done. So again, thank you to Cincy Shirts. Thank you to you for buying shirts and using that promo code.
Okay, and we are back. We've got a little bit of FC Cincinnati news to touch on. I did not attend this. Maybe it's obvious from the recording. I am not in Cincinnati at the moment, but I like that that Cincinnati Soccer Talk wrote this headline. Man, this would be aggressive for FC Cincinnati to do this. FC Cincinnati heads into Leagues Cup with open practice before anxious fans. Were either of you amongst the anxious fans at TQL Stadium for the open practice?
I was not, but I saw a lot of the footage of people there, and I didn't see a lot of people that were anxious. I saw a lot of people that were excited to, watch the club. They drew, I think, over 5,000 fans for for a practice in the morning on a Sunday. It's pretty cool. I think it's a cool thing the club did. I thought this was pretty neat. I saw Lucho and Luca signing autographs. I saw a couple of the supporters groups had, booths set up for people to learn more about getting involved in stuff like that. This was a very cool event that the team put on. I think they should do more things like this to give fans an opportunity to see and interact with the team in a non-match day setting. I thought this was a really, really cool thing they did.
Yeah. No, it's really cool.
Awazim was there. He was not training because people were watching this. I assume he will be back to training as soon as people aren't watching what he's doing.
God forbid a immigration enforcement individual was in attendance. Yes. He was what is this? He's expected basically it is that. Also of note, you had Obi, Can, and Boupendza were unavailable. Obi was away finalizing his green card, which is pretty cool. I don't know exactly what the timing looks like on that, but MLS did change the rules for this year. He would immediately free up a international spot.
No, I think it's the exact opposite. I think that now it's frozen at the start of the year, and so if you don't have your green card by, I think whenever like the rosters, whenever the window closes at the start of the MLS season, Grayson shaking his head back and forth. I know it's not instantaneous anymore.
No, my recollection is that they changed the rule back, but the cutoff is the start of the second transfer window.
Okay.
So I'm not gonna look it up. But I think the cutoff is the start of the summer transfer window.
So we were both
because
half right,
I think
Chief.
so. I think last year
Yes,
I think last year they moved it back to the start of the season,
they did.
even though previously it had been the start of the summer window, and then they moved it back this year to the start of the summer window.
Start of the summer window. Okay.
So
But-
either way, I think Chief is right that he's not going to open up an international spot until next year.
Okay.
But we're not tight on those.
We're not hurting for it.
So
Can is still recovering from his hip injury. Boupendza, I did like this. Boupendza recovering from a bug that had been affecting the squad. Notable, he's the only player who is still being affected by that bug. I don't think you get to claim that it's impacting the whole club if only one guy isn't there.
You say that, but Boupendza came up apparently afterwards in the media session that Pat Noonan had, and Laurel Pfahler had a pretty extended quote from Pat Noonan about Aaron Boupendza that caught my eye, and I'm just going to read the quote. And
Please.
If you don't subscribe to Laurel, you absolutely should, because these are the types of gems that you get when you subscribe to her. He said, physically, he was behind because of the time missed, and with the form of where the group was at, it was how does he earn those minutes back, Noonan said. I think those have been earned more recently based on where he's at physically and the performance of our group. Sometimes, despite expectations coming in with where the current situation was, he needed to be in a reserve role and be patient with that. And he was. And the minutes are building up a little bit. A lot of that has to do with the form of the group and the time he was away. I anticipate minutes for maybe a select few that maybe haven't been given the starts leading up to this, talking about Leagues Cup. And when I say that, it still has to be earned. We're approaching this competition to win. And so how do we get to have a good group stage and performance in the knockout rounds? So Aaron is one of the players that'll be positioned for more minutes. But like I said, we'll evaluate the kind of how this week goes and what we think is our best starting group to start off the competition. That quote to me does not read like a coach who is expecting Aaron Boupendza to be on the move imminently.
Interesting.
I don't know what your take on that is.
My take is Noonan is lying to help the transfer. He can't come out and say, Aaron's overweight, he's not in game shape, we don't trust him at all with the ball at his feet. He can't say that. I'm not saying that is the case, but if it is the case, he can't say it. They're trying to move him now.
my take is that Noonan is going to talk about every player like they're with the team until they're not with the team.
Yeah.
However, if Boupendza is on this team at the end of the summer transfer window, that is one, a massive failure.
Yep.
And two, a sign that they've, more or less given up on the season. And I'm not going to say like without knowing what else they're doing and what they've kicked the tires on, it's hard to say like if that's a good move or a bad move.
Right.
Because you could imagine, you could concoct a scenario where the available options to you, even if you're putting like $50 million on the table, even if you're like willing to invest, even if you're willing to buy out Boupendza and spend $50 million on like a transfer, you could still concoct a scenario where like the available options are just simply not better than hoping he gets fit again. And maybe you can just like, roll the dice on that and do a run in the MLS Cup playoffs. But he's not going to be like, he's not going to be where he was last year at the end of Leagues Cup based on like the eye test of where he is now. Right. So
What
you're
if-
giving up.
Hold on,
You're giving
hold
up
on.
production.
Yeah.
You're giving up. You're giving up production. Sorry. What?
No, I'm letting you finish because I'm going to wait until
Oh.
your thought is complete before I jump in.
You're giving up. You're giving up. You know, the opportunity cost of like additional production from getting the, $1 million. Even if you like to sign another person, if you buy him out, you can sign 3 U22s and get another $1 million in GAM
Right.
under the new roster rules that you can use.
Yeah.
And I feel like any of that is going to be better coming out of Leagues Cup than he will be.
Right.
I'm not saying that would be better at the end of the season if like things go beyond your wildest dreams.
Right.
But right now he is a waste of a DP spot. And if you are trying to compete against Miami and Columbus and LAFC this year, you cannot be giving up that DP spot. LAFC wouldn't be doing it. Miami wouldn't be doing it.
No, I was about ready to cook you after that. You could come up with a scenario where he's a better option than spending $50 million on a striker. And I was about to say something like, what if you're on mushrooms or acid? You could concoct that kind of a scenario. But no, your point
Let's
is
just say nobody's willing to come here.
okay, then I think this team is better off cutting him, paying him to go away, and putting Stefan Chirilla on the team. I think he is that bad and that bad of an asset right now. Like, I think he is that detrimental to the overall team well-being. I'd rather cut him, open up the roster spots for additional U22 spots, and get more GAM. The extra fun, tricky MLS money is worth more to me than Aaron Boupendza is on this team. Like
Today, maybe.
There's no. I don't want to wait around to find out, because you know what the deal is. Because here's the deal. I got cooked in the Discord for saying this. I'll say it on the air now. Is that since he has been signed to this team, he's been cut from his national team. He's been suspended from this team. He's been involved in multiple scandals off the field, and he's made himself unavailable by getting his jaw broke being out at the club. How much of that is his fault? I don't know. But what I do know is that at a certain point, when it's not your fault, maybe not your fault, maybe not your fault, maybe not your fault, it's your fault at some point in there. I don't know where that is. It's just, I'm done with him. And if he stays on this team, the likelihood of him doing something even dumber is exponentially high. Like, I'm not
willing to put any fault on him in like any one of those things. I don't feel like we have enough information about any single one of those things to like really make a judgment. I will say that it doesn't matter, because you can't, with this team where it is, you can't do what you want to do with him taking up a DP spot right now. You just can't. Right. Like you either need to bring somebody else in, or you need to just get another U22 in the GAM in. Trade for like Brian White or something.
Right. And to me right now, like, do it. Rip the Band-Aid off and get rid of him. Like, you might not be able to bring somebody else in this window, but that's fine. Then bring the U22 in, use the extra GAM in terms of bringing in another DP. But it all starts with getting rid of them. Like, I am of the mind right now that it's time to stop fucking around. If there hasn't been an offer for him yet that is worth a damn, then use the buyout, get him off the roster, and figure out what step 2 is as you go along. But this idea that we're going to start increasing his minutes maybe and playing him, and even a thought that they're going to roll with Boupendza for the rest of this year, it would just be, to me, a failure of leadership by this team if Aaron Boupendza is still on this roster on August 15th.
You could win trophies. You could win multiple trophies next year, even if Boupendza is on this team the rest of the season. But I don't think people should lose sight of the fact that if he is on the team the rest of the season, you made a choice to just, is it still possible they could win a trophy with him on the roster the rest of the year? Sure. Have you put yourself in the best position to win a trophy if he's still on the roster the rest of the year? Absolutely not.
No.
So
Not a
you've made a
chance.
decision. You've made a decision about 2024. Right after raising everybody's tickets 15-25%.
Yeah. If my ticket prices are going up and we're still paying Aaron Boupendza to be on this team, I'm going to have a problem a little bit.
So
I think people have the right to complain. Am I going to not renew over it? No.
No, God, I'm addicted. I'm psycho.
Please, guys.
I mean,
some of us are stuck on waiting lists over here.
But it's
that's worth
it's
protesting more than the League's Cup.
It's fair to point out. It's fair to point out, the decision that was made. And if the choice is like we're not going to win this year because Miazga went out and Hagley went out and we're just too thin, and it's going to cost too much to replace Boupendza, so we can't really improve the team in the meaningful way. There's ways to message that out. I do think that like if you're going to raise ticket prices right now, you should be messaging things out to say like, we're going to be really good next year, because even if you don't see it this year, we have things in the works. I don't know. Like,
that would be so lame to punt the season because Miazga's out. I understand he's the MLS Defensive Player of the Year, but I mean, you
is there an argument?
You signed out with
Is there an argument? Is there an argument they're not punting the season if they don't get rid of Boupendza and sign another DP attacker?
Yeah,
or another DP?
I'll make it. I'll make the argument right now. Okay, so
this will be good.
Here's the Boupendza argument.
If it involves him magically getting better, I reject it outright.
Nope, I'm not going to say he gets better. I am going to say that at the end of last year, he was offering up underlying numbers that MLS has only rarely glimpsed at. He is one of the most efficient strikers. He was consistently getting in the right position. And yeah, he didn't have the world's best relationship with Barreal and Lucho, but they still worked together to win a supporter shield, and he was still incredibly goal dangerous in Leagues Cup and in MLS Cup playoffs. He was an incredible striker. In that time since we last saw him at his peak is when he has had an epic run of misfortune, which ultimately ended up with an off-field injury that has left him sidelined. And when he was finally healthy enough, this team was on a winning streak. And that's what Noonan has said. Now that this team has finally taken some losses, he's back and healthy and training, you now have the opportunity to bring back, again, one of the most efficient, goal-dangerous strikers MLS has ever seen in a tournament that he previously excelled in. Yes, Grayson.
No. I'm holding up because I want to be the first to respond.
Okay. So then the argument becomes, sure, the cost is absolutely out there to buy him out and bring in his replacement. But again, at best, you're probably going to find a person who is twice as expensive as Boupendza, who you hope is as good as Boupendza was last year. As Boupendza we have seen be this as good with this team currently. And you would have less time to integrate that player in. You'd have less time to get him up to speed with what they try to do on offense. And you are always rolling the dice to see if they will play nicely with Lucho. I would think, and they've probably had conversations with him, that Boupendza's off-field incident has put things into a larger perspective for him. Lucho is performing at a higher rate than he did last year. I think a reformed Boupendza coming back into this team can potentially offer you something more than you would get rolling the die on a striker that isn't a Paulo Dybala level striker. And if they are unable to convince a player of that caliber to come in, I don't see anything wrong with rolling Boupendza. I don't think anybody, well, other than this podcast, would say that Nick Haglund is a load-bearing piece of this team. If Awazim is in fact the Miazga replacement, we have run back the team that all of us thought was an MLS Cup contender and Shield contender, and I'm fine with running out that roster. Okay, Grayson, counterpoint.
Okay. Well, one of the reasons he was so quote unquote efficient was because he was not, necessarily always playing the whole games. He wasn't starting games.
Yeah.
He was missing games. He was suspended. Like he definitely, even when he was like really, really good last year, left goals on the table by not making himself available and not playing into the offense at a maximum level.
Yeah.
Even the game against Philly, where he looked like probably the best he ever looked, he didn't start that game.
Right.
He came in at halftime.
Right.
So even in the game where Lucho was not available, Noonan didn't feel like it made sense to Portland just scored. Noonan didn't feel like it made sense to start Boupendza.
Yeah.
Even in a game where Lucho wasn't available. He has not looked like that player any second of the season that fans have been able to watch. I know he had a big preseason. He has not looked, even before the off-field injury.
Yeah.
He has not looked like an extremely dangerous player. He's given glimpses here and there of like, oh, that was a nice touch. But what was his good game this year?
That almost bicycle kick that we didn't see against Monterey.
Yeah, actually.
That's probably the high watermark. And you know what? All this talk about him last year, was he good last year? I don't know. But what I do know is that as soon as everyone figured out he can only kick with his left foot, he became a lot easier for teams to defend. That he has he has absolutely no ability to do anything off foot. And also, I think it's more than just he was playing last year in a system that had Brandon Vasquez, and Brandon Vasquez was unquestionably the star talent striker on the team. He occupied space. He did a lot of things that allowed Boupendza to make off-ball runs and do different things. They don't have that this year. And when Aaron Boupendza was asked to be the man in like the striker position, he looked awful this year without that other player to play off of. And you can say, Kevin Kelsey, Senator, I saw Brandon Vasquez. I worked with Brandon Vasquez. You are no Brandon Vasquez. I'm sorry. Maybe he will be someday. But every time they've asked Aaron Boupendza to be the guy, he looks like trash. And it's time to rip the Band-Aid off and admit that what they bought wasn't worth the money they paid for it.
Look, Kevin Kelsey's 19 years old. When Brandon Vasquez
20 now.
Oh, he's 20 now? Oh,
he
shit.
just turned 20 like
Washed.
yesterday or something.
No, I said this. I said he could be that someday. He's not that right now. He's not that right.
I think Kelsey's really good, although it's a little weird that he seems to have now found minutes a little hard to come by. At least starter minutes.
Yeah. We have not seen the two of them play together, though. Boupendza and Kelsey.
I don't know. I don't know if I want to. Like
before everything went wrong, that
okay.
was the plan. That was the plan. That was the intention. That was the.
You know what I'm really afraid of?
So they do not. I'll tell you right now. They do not win the Shield if Aaron Boupendza is on this team the rest of the year. They can't.
I don't think they win the Shield if they bring in.
They could.
Paulo Dybala.
They could.
You know what my ultimate fear on this whole thing is? My ultimate fear is
Aaron Boupendza's not going to be the difference against Miami on August 24.
They give Boupendza minutes in Leagues Cup. He looks good. They convince themselves this is going to work. And then he goes and like he wrecks a car with like a BAC 5 times the legal limit. Like the man is just an off-field magnet for problems. We don't have to blame anyone for it. Whatever it is, but just the amount of shit that's happened in this guy's life off the field in just he's been here for, I think, 12 months now. It seems like an eternity of shit has happened to this guy. And I'm afraid that they like miss this window to get rid of him. And then all of a sudden there's an even bigger problem that happens when they need him in September, October, or November, where you're counting on him to do something. I just don't think at this point you can count on Aaron Boupendza to do anything.
And so like could they win MLS Cup with Boupendza? Maybe, sure. But I don't want to like go back to like the quote unquote big name discourse.
Right.
But you hear about this team's ambition. And like a lot of people talk about ambition with this team. They're like, this ownership group is so ambitious. You know, you got to talk about the names that we're kicking around behind the scenes. When is one of those players going to play for this team? and would Miami's ownership group have Aaron Boupendza on the team at the end of this window? No. LAFC is going to add
Aaron Boupendza and Lionel Messi.
And potentially LAFC is going to add potentially Giroud and Griezmann this window, or some other similar thing. LA Galaxy is going to be bringing in, potentially Marco Reus on like a non-DP deal.
Yeah,
maybe. I don't know. I guess I shouldn't like give those teams credit for like stuff that's been talked about if I'm not going to give FC Cincinnati credit about stuff that's been talked about.
But they did sign.
But my point is like these teams are not letting like value difference making roster positions go unused.
Yeah.
And like right now we're sitting with at least 2 open U22 spots and a DP who has contributed nothing to the team this year. And a truly ambitious team does not have those existing at the end of this transfer window.
Yep. Yeah. I agree.
Especially with glaring needs on the roster.
Like replacing Matt Miazga.
Yeah.
Like putting Matt Miazga on the season-ending injury and replacing him with with a no extra budget charge.
That's bare minimum. That is the bare minimum.
That's bare minimum. That is not ambitious.
Yeah. So I know Chief's answer to this. Grayson, I'm curious what your answer is. Is there a future, a realistic future, where Boupendza's play in Leagues Cup convinces you that sticking with him is not a death sentence?
Not Leagues Cup play.
Not Leagues Cup. Okay.
It's gotta come in. It would have to come in the league.
Like winning the Leagues Cup Golden Boot and us winning Leagues Cup wouldn't be a. I mean, no. I understand you don't see it from him now, but
no matter what he does, he is one dumb decision away from making himself unavailable for extended periods of the season.
We all are, baby.
I know, but like most of us,
look, if he wins Leagues Cup Golden Boot and we win Leagues Cup,
you back in?
No.
Chief is out. I knew Chief's answer is out.
Sure. That is the specific scenario where I'm back in.
You hear that, Noonan? Your work's cut out for you.
You know what to do, Chris. Rip the Band-Aid off.
Honestly, what this tells me is that they're striking out on their DP deals. That if they had a DP on the table, an extra $2.5 million or whatever it is to buy out the remainder of Boupendza's contract is nothing at that point. So
no, fine. I'm also ambitious. I would like to be the CEO of Apple.
Whoa.
What is
does that happen?
No, what's going to happen, I think.
You have to be ambitious and also achieve your ambition.
Yeah, no, what I genuinely think is going to happen is I think that this will get to August 12th, and on the 13th you will hear that Aaron Boupendza has been bought out and they're bringing a new DP in. I think that this is all just posture. I think this is all just desperately attempting to recoup anything from Boupendza, even if that's just not having to have an ownership spend of $1.8 or $2 million next year for Aaron Boupendza. I think that they're trying to find a way out of this deal, and they're striking out on that end. But I think that they will bring in, I still do believe they will bring in a DP. To Grayson's point, though, there's nothing stopping you bringing U22s in right now. And I would like to see some movement on the U22 front this week. I'd like to start hearing some names. I'd like to start seeing some people come in because this team needs the depth. And you can spend big on U22s. let's get some players that are more than lottery tickets in here. Let's get some guys that might be able to get minutes and contribute.
But here's the other thing, right? Like, if you wait until maybe we're just not going to be like the team that doesn't go with 3 DPs. But if you wait until like August 13th for to buy out Boupendza, you can't use that like $1 million in GAM.
No, I think that they're going to have a DP signing on the last day. Like the idea is
right.
They'll buy it and buy the DP on the last day of the window.
But like if you shipped him like ASAP, right? You could also simultaneously kick around, you know, the intra-league like trade market.
Yeah.
Right. And or look for like 3 U22s versus 2. You know, but because that GAM bonus doesn't roll over to next year, so you have to use it this year. And so it's just it limits what options are available to you realistically. Because like, are you going to be able to like get a GAM infusion and work out a trade on the very last day of the window? I'm assuming. I guess nothing stops you from kicking that around now, but like those teams are probably also inclined to deal with the team that's able to trade them now.
I'm assuming that they have something lined up and that they are just trying to finish getting him anything. I don't know. Yeah. I can't fathom that they're going to run the risk of another year of Aaron Boupendza. I just don't see it happening.
All right, I'll wrap this portion of the conversation up with this hypothetical. It's a knockout round. It's the round of 32 in Leagues Cup. We have settled on a 1-striker formation up top. We gotta win. It's versus Nashville. Who are you starting? Aaron Boupendza or Sergio Santos?
Yuya Kubo.
No, you can't. Kirk, you can't shoot your way out of this one.
I mean, I'm starting Boupendza, but I know who Noonan's starting. Noonan's starting Sergio Santos.
Noonan is starting.
Which tells you what is the point?
Right.
What is the point of this guy? I don't dislike him. And again, like I don't blame him. I don't blame him for like basically any of the stuff that happened. Like I'm perfectly happy accepting that he is just kind of uniquely unlucky. But it just didn't work. It just didn't work. You know? So it's like it's like sometimes in a relationship, like it's nobody's fault.
Do you know how
it just doesn't work?
Do you know how profoundly unhappy I am to discover that I have tickets to the Querétaro match and that Aaron Boupendza may be starting this game?
I hope he is.
And he'll probably score, so that'll be fun.
He was, I think, the lead scorer among defenders for Hajduk Split.
It's funny, if you look at his career, he basically never scored a goal until he went to Croatia and then was prolific. So fun thing to add to your career at 26, 27 years old. All right. Let's touch on a couple of Patreon questions before we wrap this up. Yeah, we'll have to touch on the rest of these Wednesday. Here, I will answer. We'll go with this one. Ty asks, even if it's just for funsies, do y'all wish the clubs/fans played up the Queen City Derby between FC Cincinnati and Charlotte? I know the reason it's not a big deal is geographical, but after seeing how much away support Charlotte brought, I think it would be a little fun rivalry to build on. Do either of you have any interest in trying to build up the Charlotte rivalry for anything?
No.
Honestly, no.
I don't find Charlotte as an interesting city. Like, I can't name you one thing about Charlotte that's interesting, or like one thing of cultural significance that Charlotte has. As best I can tell, it's only a place because of its close proximity to like Duke, North Carolina, Wake Forest, the Research Triangle, I think.
Well, I pay attention when intern Luke speaks, and I happen to know that it is the motorsports capital of the United States hosting the NASCAR Hall of Fame. So
that's false. Like, how is Daytona
important.
or Indianapolis not higher than Charlotte on this? That's dumb.
I don't care about that.
You gotta claim the throne, claim the crown, as it were.
Charlotte's a team where I am perfectly happy with them caring more about us than we care about them.
I like that being the case with basically every team.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's the crew, it's
New York
Red Bulls, and then above both of those, it's San Diego.
Right.
Of course.
And then like
that's
Charlotte and Nashville are functionally identical in this thing for me.
Yep.
It's like they're two cities that are theoretically Southern, but not really. And I just don't care about either one of them.
You know what's funny about both of them too? They are both teams that thought they would have rivalries with Atlanta, and it turns out Atlanta's too good for them, and Atlanta more has a rivalry with like Orlando and Miami.
Yeah.
So then the two of them can have a rivalry. That's great. It's like that scene in Animal House. Just pair the two of them together. You guys can go hang out.
They can play for like a Jefferson Davis Memorial Trophy or something. Like
Cancel.
Make it fun Confederacy related. They'll love that.
Sure.
They get a big kick out of it.
You call it the $50 brunch derby.
The farm to table derby. Yeah.
It's like how in American Pie, Natasha Lyonne and the guy who looks kind of like Mr. Bean go to prom together. That's
it
Nashville
right
and Charlotte.
A marriage of convenience.
Yeah, we're staying together for the kids.
It's like nobody really likes either of us, but we have these like kind of like defensive exteriors to deflect that, and we're just going to end up together.
Right. That everything about us is astroturfed, so like,
Man,
we
I'll never forgive Charlotte for like giving people bank accounts or whatever it was.
It's like they're the Wells Fargo of soccer teams. Everybody got a free bank account. Nashville once went to Kinko's to print a tifo. These people, they belong together.
They really are the most manufactured fan bases. All right. Well, if you two would like to ask a question to have answered on the podcast, you can give us $2 a month. It's a huge investment, but if you do that, you can ask us a question, and that's pretty much it. Those are all the perks you get. But it's a good thing we're saving these questions, because we might end up getting like grouped in Leagues Cup and have a lot of time to kill for a couple weeks. Well, let's hope that doesn't happen. On that note, Chief, how about you get us out of here?
You'll notice we don't talk about Charlotte at the end of the podcast ever. Go fuck yourself, San Diego.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Cincy Postcast. It is a production of The Post Cincy. You can check us out at thepostcincy.com, or just click a link in the description to check out some of our written work. It also has links to our social media accounts across all sorts of different platforms, including YouTube, where we are trying to do more and more video content. Please, dare I say it, like and subscribe and leave a comment. But no, that would be really, really helpful. Also want to give a thank you to Jim Trace and the Makers. They're a local Cincinnati band who provided all of the music for this episode. We love having them on board. You can check them out. Again, link in the description of this episode to find out where they might be playing shows next, or where you can listen to more of their music. Also want to give a massive, massive thank you to the awesome and very attractive patrons over on Patreon. It is a voluntary subscription that people take out with no real promise of anything extra that keep this show afloat. And we are so thankful to those of you that have decided to take that commitment. If you do like the show, or at least just want to engage with other people who have listened to the show and want to talk about FC Cincinnati, MLS, soccer, or really anything else, you can go on over to Discord. Again, link in the description. Lots of links in the description where you can find a link to the Discord. That's where we are keeping the conversation going 24/7. It feels like it's a really fun group of people in there just talking about FC Cincinnati. And like I said, just about everything else. And finally, I'll say it. If you liked this episode, and given the fact that you've made it all the way to the end, I have to assume you either like it or for some reason cannot reach the stop button. Please share this episode with a friend or family member or someone who likes FC Cincinnati. The best way for us to grow is from a personal recommendation from somebody who likes it. And if that's you, please tell other people. And if you don't have any friends, feel free to give us a review on whatever your podcast platform of choice is. We'll take anything we can get. But again, a huge thank you to everybody for listening to this show. I am blown away that anybody listens to this. So again, I well and truly mean this. Thank you so much for listening.